2 years ago, I did a video about Arborvitaes care. And after that time, there are a lot of questions, requesting additional information, asking a lot of questions, which I did not address in my previous video. So this video is a follow-up, how my Arborvitaes are doing after 2 years of growing in my garden, and I'm addressing all that additional information for us to be able to grow these magnificent evergreens well in our gardens. So how are my Arborvitaes doing after these 2 years? After filming that video, by the way, here it is, in case you didn't see it. If you look at them, you will notice that my Arborvitaes didn't grow a lot. And the reason is, if Arborvitaes are in shady, some semi-shade conditions, they're not going to grow a lot. And by growing a lot, it is more than 12 inches a year, which is a good growing height. That's why Arborvitaes are so popular on the market, because they are fairly fast-growing privacy plants. So my Arborvitaes, as you can see here, they have somewhat cloudy shape on the top. And this is because two reasons. First, they are in slight shade, so they are not encouraged to grow fast. And second, I am not training them as one leader plant. So when you do this, you can see that there are two leaders competing with each other. And if you are living in cold zones where there is a lot of snow damage in the winter, you run into a risk that snow can accumulate on your Arborvitaes and they can flop open, and then they might not go back, or they can even break. So if you don't want that to happen to your Arborvitae, you're going to try to trim one leader during the youngish stage of your Arborvitaes. This is kind of too late to do. When Arborvitaes are still this height, usually this is the height when we bring them back from the nursery, what you do in spring, you take the top maybe 3-4 inches of the competing smaller leader, and you cut it off. Try to hide that stump in the foliage, and eventually the Arborvitae will build up the canopy and will hide that somewhat a gap in its nice smooth shape. So we do that because we want to avoid this. And the reason why I am not doing it, well, first of all, I was a little bit late cutting these competing leaders. And second of all, I'm waiting for them to grow a little bit higher, maybe this height, and then I'm going to trim them. That's another thing what you can do with your Arborvitaes. Again, in spring, you cannot take a lot down. It's easier, it's better to do little by little every year instead of waiting for your Arborvitaes to grow tall and then taking half of them down. Don't do that. Arborvitaes don't like it. So the minute my Arborvitaes, maybe even now, you see the top is here, he's pretty probably at the height I want my Arborvitaes to grow. So I will start trimming it here, and I will trim every height which is reaching this level. This way my Arborvitaes are going to stay as fairly low or medium hedge. But again, if you want your Arborvitaes to become nice, tall, slim, and grow nice in this nice thin pyramidal shape, I would encourage you to trim these lateral side shoots coming in. For example, I will show you on this Arborvitae. This is Arborvitae, which is growing here in a much sunnier location. As you can see, it has one leader here, and it has these competing leaders here. So what happened last year, I trimmed this leader, I cut it to, hid the cut stem in the canopy, and it is staying like this. It's not growing tall and not competing with this single leader. Now you look at this guy. He is trying to grow now, and eventually, if I let him grow, he probably will build up another leading branch, and these guys will be competing with each other. And what will happen? Arborvitaes are not happy when they touch something, they become bald there. So eventually, this branch will lose all these branches here, and this guy, you see how he grows? He doesn't have anything here. So that's how it's going to look. All this eventually will be lost, and we will get another leader competing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take scissors, and it's good to do it in spring, and I will just cut right here. And this way, my leader is not going to be there, and he's not going to grow tall and fast. And my arborvitae will stay nice and narrow here. And by the way, a good sign that arborvitae is happy is this nice, tall, skinny shoot growing fast towards the sky. People were also asking me, how do I fertilize my arborvitaes? I do fertilize them every spring. I use slow release, natural organic fertilizer. Asproma, all garden fertilizer is pretty good. So I feed them according to the label, and then I water them well. Again, you have to make sure that your arborvitaes are well hydrated before you feed them, and you water that fertilizer well after you finish feeding them. So that's what I do for my arborvitaes in spring. And then during summer, I like to give them occasional feed of fish emulsion. I do buy, I believe, Alaska fish emulsion from the garden center. I dilute it and I give them a nice food, a nice thing to eat. Well, eat. And I think my arborvitaes like it. They build a nice green canopy, and I feel that if you're growing your arborvitaes in slight shade, which is happening right here, you see, this is usually how the day looks here. You have to make sure that you stay on top of watering and on top of feeding to support these magnificent evergreens, for them to perform well for you. When I go around different neighborhoods, I see all these neglected arborvitaes, and they look so miserable. For example, look at this. This guy invested a good amount of money to create this potentially wonderful hedge separating him from the street, and all this is wasted because this owner probably forgot to care properly for arborvitaes. And the care, I think I addressed that in my previous video, but here I will do it again for all our mutual benefit. I want everybody to grow beautiful arborvitaes, of course. So when arborvitaes go in the fall, you have to make sure you water them till the soil is frozen. Arborvitaes do perspire in winter because they keep these beautiful green branches, and they need to be hydrated going into winter. This way, the chances of losing them is minimized in winter. And again, if you introduce your arborvitaes to the garden, make sure that you stay on top of watering that first year, very important. Not first 2 weeks, as with perennials, let's say. They do need to be watered on a regular basis first year. And why is that? Well, why are these arborvitaes so popular as a privacy hedge? Because they're coming from the nursery pretty tall already, and the ratio between root system and the greenery on top is pretty extreme. You know, the root ball is small, and these trees are pretty built up on top. That's majority of people. They buy them probably this height coming from the nursery. And that root system has to support all this growth. So that's where we come in, if we want these beautiful trees to grow so well. Why are my arborvitaes brown inside? Are they dying? This is, by the way, number one question a lot of garden centers receive about arborvitaes. And a lot of people, when they look inside, they will see a lot of brown branches still hanging on the interior of arborvitaes. Nothing to worry about it whatsoever. Usually, the trees, deciduous trees, they drop their leaves annually in the fall, and then they build their canopy back in spring. Not the same story with arborvitaes. They lose their third year branchlets. They are not really needles, they are branchlets, and they are losing them from the interior side of branches. They're 3-year-olds, and what happens, those little dry branchlets, they have a tendency to hang on the interior of our arborvitaes for a long time. Hence, when we look inside, we see a lot of browning. Well, in my case, my arborvitaes lost already all that brown stuff inside, so I can't show it to you really. So basically, all that stuff, after hanging on in here for some time, it falls down into the ground, and we don't see it anymore. If the season is very tough, let's say summer is very dry, Arborvitaes will respond by creating more browning than usual. Or if Arborvitaes are having hard time with being replanted or sitting in the nursery pot for too long, doggies, then they will respond with a lot of browning. Oh my gosh. Okay. Then they will respond to that stress with a lot of browning. But as long as the exterior branches are green, don't worry, your arborvitaes are fine. Just make sure you stay on top of watering. If you have any additional questions or comments, please ask them under this video. And it would be very lovely if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in my next video, and happy gardening!